Real quick, we're going to do a little Q&A with Marcus Williams. So we got a few guys sitting around. We're going to ask some questions and hear some answers from the expert.
I guess my first question would be the difference between sensored and sensorless motors. Is there a difference between them, and do you prefer one over the other?
Motors?
Motors.
The motors are the same. It doesn't matter. The sensor board reads what the motor does, so it's a speed controller that makes a difference as far as being sensored and sensorless. So you can run a sensored motor in a sensorless speed controller and it won't perform any different.
Okay. With that being said, then as far as the ESC, is there a difference between like an inexpensive ESC and some of the higher ones that have like Bluetooth and some of the other options where you can make a lot of changes? And how does that impact the performance? I mean, what do you recommend, or what do you do with your ESCs?
So for what specific class?
Great question. Mine's gonna be F1 or 2500. So both 12 tooth pinions here,
right?
53 tooth spur. So
yeah. So typically with a motor that's a 2500 or even a 3500, your main thing is trying to get power, and everybody gets stuck on how fast it is on the straightaway. You make up more time on the infield. So basically what we call is rip. You want infield rip with your motor and your speed controller. So there's a bunch of ways to skin a cat, but for a general answer to your question is you want to run the lowest frequency you can find on your ESC. Is usually 1000, and then your throttle rate and your IP. IP is the first initial movement of the motor when you get back on throttle. So you want that to be high because it's a smaller motor. And your throttle rate, I think the best way that I like to explain that would be your surge is your throttle rate, your kick is your IP. That kind of makes sense. So I guess if you're going to do an extreme example with it on a track, if you have a super, super high throttle rate and you come out of the corner and squeeze it, it'll like want to overshoot the next turn. That kind of makes sense. Whereas if you back that off, you can find it where you'll punch it and it'll be almost a perfect ratio going into the next turn.
Okay, perfect.